There are a lot of headphones that promise studio quality sound, but very few that are actually designed with real monitoring in mind. Most of them are tuned for enjoyment first, accuracy second. This one sits in the opposite direction. It is built with a very specific purpose: to show you your audio as it really is, not as you want it to sound. At first contact, the design is immediately functional. No unnecessary styling, no flashy branding decisions, no attempt to look like a consumer lifestyle product. Everything about it feels intentional for studio use. The frame is lightweight, which makes a big difference when you are wearing them for long sessions. Whether you are editing audio, mixing tracks, or recording vocals, comfort is not a luxury. It is a requirement. And here, the weight distribution helps reduce fatigue over time. The ear cups fold inward, which adds a level of portability that is often missing in studio headphones. You can easily pack them into a bag without worrying about bulk. That makes them practical not just for studio desks, but also for mobile setups, small production rigs, or traveling creators. Comfort is one of the strongest areas. The padding around the ear cups is soft enough to prevent pressure buildup, and the clamp force is balanced. They stay in place without feeling tight. That balance is important because studio sessions are rarely short. You might wear these for hours at a time while repeatedly listening to the same section of audio. But the real focus starts when you press play. The tuning is clearly aimed at neutrality. That means the sound signature avoids exaggeration. There is no artificial bass boost, no over-sharpened highs, and no attempt to make everything sound exciting. Instead, the low end is controlled and precise. Bass is present when it needs to be, but it does not dominate the mix. This is especially useful when you are working on kick drums, bass guitars, or electronic sub-layers. You are hearing structure rather than impact. The mid-range is where these headphones become genuinely useful for production work. Vocals are clean and positioned clearly in the mix. Instruments do not blur together. There is separation that allows you to identify individual elements without struggling to isolate them mentally. That kind of clarity is important when you are making decisions about EQ or compression. Small adjustments become easier because you are hearing actual detail instead of colored sound. The high frequencies are detailed but carefully controlled. You get enough information to hear cymbals, reverbs, and subtle effects, but without the harshness that can lead to listening fatigue. This matters a lot when your work involves long editing or mixing sessions. The overall balance across frequencies is what makes these useful in a studio environment. Nothing feels exaggerated. Nothing feels missing. It is not about impressing you on first listen. It is about consistency over time. Soundstage is what you would expect from a closed-back design. It is not overly wide or cinematic, but it is structured. You can still perceive placement and separation between elements, which is important for tracking and mixing. Instruments do not feel stacked on top of each other, even if the space is not artificially expanded. One of the biggest advantages here is translation. What you hear through these headphones tends to match closely with how your audio will behave on other systems. That includes speakers, car audio, and consumer earbuds. If your mix sounds balanced here, it usually holds up elsewhere. That reliability is what makes them valuable for production workflows. Isolation is practical and effective. It reduces background noise enough to keep your focus on detail work, even in less than ideal environments. It is not active noise cancellation, and it is not trying to be. It is passive isolation tuned for studio use. There are no wireless features, no app integration, and no digital enhancements. Everything stays analog and direct. That is intentional. In studio environments, simplicity often leads to reliability. No latency, no signal processing, no delays. What goes in is what you hear instantly. This makes them particularly useful for recording situations where timing matters. Monitoring your voice or instrument in real time without delay can significantly improve performance and workflow. In terms of real-world use, these are clearly aimed at creators, producers, podcasters, editors, and anyone working with audio seriously. If your goal is entertainment listening with boosted bass and immersive effects, this is not designed for that experience. But if your goal is accuracy, this fits directly into that need. Over time, headphones like this become less about excitement and more about trust. You start relying on them to tell you the truth about your mix. That trust is what makes them valuable in a production chain. They do not try to make every track sound impressive. They try to help you make every track sound better. And that difference is what defines a true monitoring tool. So if you are building a studio setup or upgrading your current workflow, this sits in a category that prioritizes function over hype and accuracy over enhancement.